Welcome all to our financial wellness podcast, From Roots to Fruits, where we nurture our roots to grow more delicious fruits. I'm your host, Arlyne. Let's get started. Welcome back, everyone. It has been another amazing week connecting with various people. I've attended some events and we wrapped up the video for the fifth year birthday party from earlier on this month. So I'm hoping to post it sometime this week. So please watch out on YouTube. We will be posting the birthday celebration and what we got up to there. So I'm excited for that. I also had a great conversation with Khanyi. Tshabalala. I hope I'm saying her name right. And she is a great person, a great light who wants to make a difference within the well-being space. And she is doing it internationally, which is amazing. And her podcast is called The Lantern Podcast. And we discussed various things around financial wellness and how it's linked to mental health, and also just kind of the cultural nuances and why managing finances is so taboo in terms of talking about it. Why is it so difficult to be able to turn things around, and why on a system level are things so bad? So we explored some things. I shared my views, which are definitely not like the view of everybody. It's just my perspective and what I've seen from working with thousands of people from the past 5 years. And yeah, so I'm really excited actually to share that clips of that podcast on here. She allowed me to kind of take from that, and you get to hear from our conversation. And I'm hoping that we'll have more conversations and we can invite her onto the Roots to Fruits podcast and we can discuss kind of the impact of mental health and financial well-being and vice versa. I say that because when I started Roots to Fruits in 2020, I started doing some research and I read this article, and I think it was Martin Lewis who had done some research with his charity at that point, and they were looking at the effect of, if you have poor mental health, how is that going to affect your financial well-being? And as you can imagine, when you're feeling depressed, when you're feeling sad, when you're feeling anxious, it's really hard to get the motivation to now go to work. Some people can thrive. Some people can use that energy and actually use it to prove someone wrong. But a lot of people feel like, you know what, I don't want to do anything. And I'm sure you can recall a time when you felt that way. I certainly can. And vice versa, in terms of if something happens to you, or maybe you've lost your job now, your financial situation has been impacted negatively, what does that lead to? It might lead to your mental health suffering. I mean, this is a stat that I'm sure you will know or you might have heard of before, that financial stress is one of the biggest stress causes. I think I've said it enough times on previous episodes of this podcast, and it's because it's true. So it's something that we really need to tackle at various ends. So I'm hoping to be able to talk to people that are looking at mental health, people that are looking at well-being as well. And whilst we're at it, the evolution of this podcast is going to be, we're diving into other topics really deeply. So we've got like loads of research projects happening on the side, and going to be talking to some financial influencers in persons, where we've booked some studio space. So keep an eye out for those episodes as well. And yeah, that's it for your intro. It's been a long intro, so we're just going to dive into the conversation that I had with Khanyi. Please look out for the full podcast episode that is on her platforms, and I'm going to link it, the Lantern Podcast. Do check it out.
I do have the banking and finance background and was in finance myself, but it doesn't. Yeah, I still think it's a little bit more on the boring side of things. But yeah, over to you.
Yeah, well, I'll take it from there, but It can be boring. It all depends. And I'm here to rebrand finance, to be honest with you. And a lot of my business partners, when I was working in various companies, I'll just tell you my history. I did not like accounting when I did it in A level, but I think it was just the theory of it, and it was too much maybe at A level stage. And I studied business and finance, so I always knew that within business or maybe within finance, I'm going to place myself there, but I didn't know where and how until I was lucky enough to get a grad scheme with the London Ambulance Service, and they trained me up to be an accountant. Found out that I actually like accounting in terms of the day to day, helping a business kind of business partner, like maybe the head of sales or something, helping them understand their finances and talking through, okay, this is what this means and how what's our strategy to improving things. I really, really liked that. So I studied SEMA, because SEMA is for management accounting, rather than there's other qualifications there like ACCA,
Yeah.
ACA, where you're more focused on like the numbers and the books.
Yeah.
So I really liked the helping people part, which makes sense. That led me into starting the business, and that was in 2020 during the pandemic. I was working for GiftGaff at that point. Within the financial control team, and I was preparing the year-end stats accounts. So when you want to know about a business, if it's doing well or not, you go onto company's house and you
Oh,
download
Arlene,
the
I'm like,
financial.
seriously, you're gonna out us all now.
Before you invest and you're buying shares and all this stuff, you should probably look at the financial statement.
I'm like, yeah, she comes outing us all. She's like, get the receipts as to how the business is actually doing.
Exactly. Well, that is prepared by somebody. So that was myself at that point, like preparing the financial statement, which was really interesting. But as you can tell, that part was very numbers heavy, and you are dealing with auditors, and it's very intense compared to what I like, which is helping people understand their finances. So I think maybe something in me, without knowing, then thought, okay, I could still feed this by helping the people that I know are need some support, for example, within my family. And within our family, we were like, okay, well, what are you going to do about this? What are you going to? It's like, oh, we haven't sat down and have that conversation. So then I sat my mom and dad down, and then we created a plan. And they are planning on moving to Zimbabwe, but at that point, they wanted to finish their mortgage. So we sat down, we created a plan, an Excel document. I found it easy because I'm constantly creating an Excel. If there's a holiday now, there's an Excel document for
Oh,
it. If
goodness.
there is, I bought a house when I was 27. I created a plan when I was like 22 to be like, how am I going to do this? So it felt natural to me, but I realized that it's not natural to the people closest to me. And then my mom told her church group, and then I hosted a session for them. Next thing, I'm hosting a session with like 150 people during the pandemic. I just got a Zoom link.
Yeah.
We started to just kind of talk through. I would ask them, what do you want to learn about? Okay, what's a credit score? How do I improve it? Was the biggest one. And then a few other things like, I'm trying to save. I just don't understand why I can't save. And then we created this framework, and a lot of people then said that they managed to buy their house or save for XYZ. So
Yeah.
there was proof in what I was creating at that point without knowing that I'm creating a business. And
Hmm.
then I registered it in July, although we'd been doing workshops for a couple of months already. And then before you know it, I was now attending accelerator programs to understand, how could this be commercial? How could I make it into an actual business? Can I leave my job that I'm happy with right now, where I'm earning whatever? I've got these responsibilities to
Yeah.
run a business where I felt like I don't this is completely new. So I took my time. And then at the end of 2023, I left my job at that point, and then fully ran Roots to Fruits. And it's been like 18 months of just kind of like putting my all in into like, how can we better support the community with financial wellness? And yeah, so that's really been the road to getting here.
It's so interesting, and I think like One thing I wanted to highlight was the financial literacy point, because I mean, if the whole church congregation is asking you like for basic advice, to my mind, it kind of highlights that we don't really get taught about finances, right? Because these are people that have gone through some sort of formal education, I'm assuming, are functioning adults with responsibilities, yet the financial piece is missing. So, in your view, why do you think there's a lack of the incorporation of financial literacy, maybe at an academic level? And I mean, I don't want to only like place the blame on academic institutions, so maybe even around the family table.
Yeah. There's this taboo, I believe. I mean, depending on, because I know you are someone who probably have an international kind of audience. So I'm going to generalize in terms of where we're based right now. So in the UK, there's a bit of a kind of mystery, especially even like posting how much people are going to get paid for a role, like on LinkedIn. Only now are we seeing a lot more positions put the salary on the job advert, but there were times where you'd apply for a job not knowing what you're going to get paid, and then you put an offer what you think you're worth, and then they counter offer that, and then you
Wow.
find that you're negotiating how much. So just thinking about just that piece of not understanding how much companies pay, and then you find out that your colleague might be getting paid more or less actually, and you're doing the same job, which is why it's great that they've got equal pay kind of reports now where we can have visibility of it. But that's a small example of the mystery around finances. And then let's think about kind of banks being created, and it's in their best interest to be able to kind of like charge you interest for this but not give you that much interest for savings, but then they're charging you loans for credit cards and loans, therefore they're making money. And
Yeah.
all these other financial institutions, so maybe there wasn't an incentive before, but now that we're all being loud about it, and they're talking about it in governments as well, and they have been pushing for more financial education on the curriculum. I think they just need to understand how and who's going to deliver it. But there's definitely been more focus on educating people to manage their finances. But I think the history of it has been that who was going to deliver it? It's not going to be the institutions that have the capacity to do it.
Mm.
Banks now do it, which is great because we've partnered with HSBC in the past where we had a financial well-being expert come and talk about XYZ. Lloyd's as well, they do some stuff. But I think it's been only in the last like 5 to 8 years that they've been offering this. But yeah, so I'd say it's the history, but I can see a change.
So Arlene, tell me, why do you think people are poorer now? Because I know you were saying that there's definitely been a shift in finance not being this mystery, as you call it. But I think people are asking more questions around finance because maybe they don't have as much finance. Maybe that's why it's not becoming a topic of conversation, specifically like after 2020 COVID time. So, what, in your view, if you want to take us through, what do you think's changed?
Yes, another great question. And I'm actually researching kind of presenting this in a packaged form. I would say it's interesting to look at. So if you're based in the UK or the Western world, maybe America, Canada, wherever you are amongst the top 1% in the world in terms of like the earnings that you actually have when you then translate it and then just kind of compare. So if you're based in the UK already, you are earning more than the majority of the world. However, you might feel like, no, I'm not.
That's
I'm not earning
I
that
really, I actually wanted to weigh in and be like, "Are you sure?"
Yeah,
Because I was
exactly.
like,
But the stats and kind
"Yeah,
of like what they've got and what they've researched shows that actually you're wealthier right now. And then if you look at the past as well in terms of how much we're earning, we are earning more than maybe 50 or 30 years ago. We're earning more in terms of the pound. However, what's happened is the cost of living has also gone up. So when you look at kind of the cost of housing and electricity, your bills, even water has gone up. If you look at the cost of food as well, it has gone up. But the point that I really found so interesting is we have more financial kind of needs. what do I mean by that? Before, you would buy a car and then you just buy it. Now a lot of us lease cars, so you've got a monthly payment that's coming out. It's not just one thing where you've bought it and then that's it. You're okay, fine, you're paying for MOT, you're paying for road tax, but we're now leasing cars. Other things as well where we've got commitments. If you have a printer, now you have to pay a subscription to your printer. You
Yeah.
have to pay a subscription to like get in your coffee beans these days. You're paying loads of subscriptions just to keep up with something, which will actually work out to be more in a year than if you were to just buy it outright. We're
Right.
now in this world where we have more financial commitments, and also the cost of kind of just living has gone up. So although we're earning more than our parents would have, we have less left at the end of the month. So that's where there's a bit of a mismatch. And then I'm not going to touch like maybe clothes and fast fashion and things like that. I feel like maybe that might be too easy of a route, but definitely that contributes to it as well. Where before they probably had things that they would wear over and over again, whereas now the quality is not as good, so then you have to like buy more clothes and shoes and things like that. So yeah, it's a combination of lifestyle changing, although we should be wealthier or feel wealthier because we earn more.
So I love that you ended off on that note about feeling wealthy, because when it comes to finances, or maybe the pillars of wellness, right? I think that a lot of people will focus particularly on financial wellness and think that everything else flows from your financial wellness, right? So, what's your perspective on people maybe attributing their value as an individual, as a contributor to society, only to their financial income or how they're able to generate finances?
It's so interesting. And I would say, on a personal level, I think I understand it a lot more now than when I was working full time. At that point, my last role was at Virgin Media O2, and running a team and doing all sorts, and felt really important in that team as well, because I'm in there and I'm talking to the directors, I'm telling them what to do and things like that. And so there's like, at work I feel important, and I'm getting the package to make me know that, yep, I am an important person and I earn a certain level. Therefore, I bought on my 30th birthday, I bought myself a Mercedes Benz, a blue one. And that's probably like a status thing. So people could see that I'm doing really well in life. Also how you dress, how you like present yourself as well. It's like a status thing. Not knowing that that's what I'm doing. I'm not trying to be like, part of me knew that this is why I'm doing.
You're like, I should take a little bit of accountability.
I knew. So yes, where perception is very important, what people think about that is very important, and then you strive to earn enough to then show that I'm doing well in life, or it could even be survival as well. Like you need to earn a certain amount to be able to thrive, especially if you're in a certain industry. I know people that are in kind of like the banking, the lawyers or the investment bankers, and people that have kind of a perception that if you see them, you think that, yeah, they're wearing the nice suits, they're all tailored and, designer clothes and things like that. But you have to earn enough and you have to spend as much to be able to kind of keep up with that. And
Can I
I
just
think,
say, like, that makes me laugh inside, because I'm like, this is probably why I didn't fit the aesthetic, because I'm so frugal. Like, I don't care to look like I was earning like a banking lawyer. Like, I don't want people to look at my things. So I like the opposite. But I guess that's just like my own perception of like materialism. But anyway, as you were.
which is great because now in 2024, I'm a full-time business owner. And as you know, sometimes an invoice isn't paid, even though it's been past due for 6 months now, and you keep on chasing them. Or sometimes you're just not getting booked as often as you might like, or the value of a contract isn't as much as with a different company, so because maybe they just don't have the budget for it, but you're happy to do a project. So I would say 2024 was a really humbling experience, where it started off with like loads in the pipeline. I booked loads of stuff, and then it just dried up during the summer. So it felt like actually there was a peak and then a massive trough. And then now I started to address, like, hold on, what, now I've got this car that I'm maintaining. I've got XYZ. I would like to go on holiday still. I don't want to stop that. And I want to maintain the lifestyle that I had. And then that identity thing,
I love that you even like hold your heart because you're remembering like the ego death.
I had to learn a lot. So, exactly. So, in terms of like attaching our identity, our self wealth to how much we earn is dangerous, because when you're doing well, you feel really great. But then if it's taken away from you, whether voluntary, I volunteered, or if it happens to you because you
Yeah,
lost a job,
yeah.
and then you feel like, oh my God, what am I going to do? And you don't even have an emergency funds to be able to survive, 3 months of you kind of looking for a new job, then
Mm.
it'll really affect your self wealth, because you felt like, I'm doing well because I'm earning more. Now I'm not doing well, then now I'm not earning enough, I'm not doing well. So that's that thing where, whether it's going well or not, you're going to be really affected. So I think that's probably something that we need to address. And I love that you mentioned, within wellness, financial wellness is a very key thing.
I honestly see it as such a key component and also one of the underlying factors contributing to the poorer mental health, right? Because these things are interconnected. It's what you say. For some reason, as humans, we do attribute a lot of our worth, success to finances. If it's not translating into the bank account, you feel some type of way about yourself. Whereas I think unless you've learned a hard lesson and you realize there is more to life, and then maybe also interrogating more of those subconscious thoughts of why did you think a certain way? Like, why did you need to look a certain way? Why did you need to buy certain things? Why did you give it to capitalism in the way that you did? Not a lot of people will maybe feel comfortable to have that level of interrogative conversation with self because it's, I mean, Arlene, like nothing changed between you, like as a person, and then you holding that really important role, and then you now having your own business. You're actually still Arlene in all these capacities.
Mm,
Yet for some reason, it's the consumerism of like, if I attach this to me, then I should change how I feel. So
yeah.
for me, I feel like the conversation is not had is that internal conversation of how does your compass not move even when the bank account is not looking the way you want it to look?
Mm.
So I don't know if you have any thoughts around maybe the mental health piece when it comes to the intersectionality of mental health and finance.
Yes, and I'll start off with, not to, I completely understand where maybe it's like, for me to feel okay, I have to be able to pay my bills. For example, if you're getting past due letters, or now someone's taking you to court because you haven't paid, that will affect your mental health, because you're not able to sustain your life. And that is a big part. And there's loads of studies that have been done where, and it now can, you can get into depression, and you're really sad and have anxiety and stuff, which then also means that I can't find a job because I'm depressed, and then now you're in a massive wheel.
Yeah.
So there's that section of things, and I don't want to kind of like ignore the fact that some people are genuinely trying and they can't get out of it. So really feel for them. And then there's others where actually maybe they are earning a lot, but then they're not seeing it as enough, and they're filling a hole, maybe that should be kind of more like, you need to look inward. Maybe there's other things that should probably satisfy you, and but then they're filling it with things, and money buys things. So yeah, there's that element of it as well, where maybe people should kind of do a bit of sausage. I mean, it was Jeff Jeff Bezos's wedding. When was it? Like a few weeks ago, and a lot of people were just kind of talking about, it's obscene wealth. It's showing that we've made it in life, showing that I'm the richest person in the world, sort of thing. And for me, it was a show off. If we all have to see it, then you probably are missing something within yourself and you need us to validate that you've done well. Whereas
Mm.
you probably don't feel like you've done as well. That's just me. I know a lot of people, it's a wedding, fine. You should have all the fine things, absolutely. But for me, it just felt obscene and it
Yeah.
felt like a lot. And I just felt like maybe there's something missing in them that money probably isn't even still filling.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to actually segue to now is that, you have people that have obscene amounts of wealth but are still not happy. So when you're saying that, yes, of course, when the collectors are trying to recover money and you find yourself in that whole depression, but then you have really wealthy people that are also depressed. So in your view, what do you think is maybe the connecting factor between these two experiences? Because they're polar opposite, yet people are experiencing the exact same mental health condition.
Yeah. Oh, it's a big one. I mean, just from a personal view, what were we fed? So, millennial here, and the shows that we used to watch, and we had the Wolf of Wall Street, we had all these people that we would watch on TV, and we were told that they are happy because they have money. So then what do? I need to get money to be able to get that happiness as well. Later on to find out that actually even the actor who still had money was not happy. And honestly, a lot of people still feel like there's something missing
Yeah.
and that money didn't satisfy. I think a lot of research needs to probably go into it in terms of fully understanding why we use finances, because you think that once I've made it, you go through life, you're going to school and you're learning and you're being told, what do you want to do? I want to be a doctor. Oh, amazing. Once you're a doctor, you're going to be earning this much money, and then you get married. If you follow all these paths by 30, you're done, you're great, you
Yeah.
should be happy, only to find out that actually no, it's not, that's not what we should aspire to. You should ask yourself what makes you happy, and then that's probably where you should, that's the route that you should go, and hopefully you're earning enough to still sustain yourself.
Yeah. So, I mean, I came across this meme the other day. It was like the kind of economy we're in, you might as well chase your passion anyway. And going to your point just around the social mobility element and how, yes, I think historically people had ambitions to go into those roles like your investment banking, accounting, law, because of the paycheck attached to those professions. But obviously now, with the integration of AI and the move away from white collar, things are really changing. It's really now flipping everything on its head. So, what's your view on people maybe pursuing passions now and taking into account AI and where things are going economically, globally?
It's really really great. There was the great pivot that happened, right? Or they called it the great resign, and people were just pivoting during the pandemic because we had time to sit down and think what actually makes me happy. I mean,
You're
fruit
like
was birthed in the
exhibit A.
pandemic.
Yeah.
And it's like people had the time to sit down and pivot, and it's probably because you would have been on a path where you feel like, okay, this is what I'm doing, and then you do some soul searching, what actually makes me happy, and then people then pivoted. Other people didn't, which is fair enough, and that's okay as well, to
Yeah.
like realize something later on in your life. Oh, I forgot my point. Can you repeat your question?
Um, I was now very much engaged in your answer,
No,
but I think
okay.
the question was around people following their passions because of where we are going as a global economy.
Yes. Away from, yes. So with the piece around AI, and I'm really interested to see kind of like where things go with that, whether we will really see, because like when they introduced emails,
Yeah.
everybody felt like, okay, we're all going to lose our jobs because now there's emails, everything's going to be really efficient. Or does it look like AI is going to genuinely take a lot of jobs, um and it's going to be a lot better and everybody's going to have to shift so then we can all go to our passions. I don't know. I just feel like a lot of companies find other ways of then utilizing people and getting productivity out of them. I think it's so early to kind of tell, but as you said, we've seen a massive rise in people just kind of following their passion. And I think it was genuinely from 2020 onwards. Some people try, some people fail and then come back to it. Other people just do it alongside of their main job, and other people have been really successful, which is great as well. But I think it's definitely telling, and it's definitely something we should do more. I think there was some research or an article around the younger generation now following their passion, because as you said, they feel like, well, I might as well anyway, because I'm not even earning that much anyway in my
Yeah.
9 to 5.
Yeah.
And I think it's really great. I just hope where people are following their passion, it's not all just in one industry, that we all are still looking after the other industries that need to keep going. But I really don't think AI is going to take all of our jobs. But maybe I'm being naive. So, from reading various books, listening to podcasts, financial educators, as well as just mindset gurus, one key thing that always comes out is that your mindset is everything. How you think about yourself, how you think about your solution, the energy that you put towards changing things really affects the outcome. And I think this is very true. I will give myself a task whenever I find myself seeing negative results. For example, like if I feel like, hold on a minute, I feel like I'm broke, I do not have money right now, which is something that has happened during the business owner journey. And honestly, the thing that helped me change my perspective was my mindset. So I stopped listening to actual news. I used to love like turning on the morning news, and it was just so negative. There are so many wars, and it's important to know what's happening in the world. Absolutely. But the news just felt so negative, and we're just hearing of all these decisions that the world leaders are making, and it felt like they are running us in the ground. And I just didn't like listening to that because I started to feel really anxious. And yeah, so I stopped listening to that. I configured my algorithm on YouTube where I was just listening to good news. Literally, I would Google good news or YouTube search good news, and that's all I was watching. And I was listening to people that have positive stories of how they turned their life around, and writing down tips, 10 steps to do this, 10 steps to do that. I picked up a creative I picked up a creative hobby again. I was drawing now. I started just coloring in when I felt like I had nothing to do rather than go on social media. I would just color and listen to some positive sounds, even just birds chirping, anything that made me feel a little bit better about myself. And then I started making better decisions as well. And also reaching for a contract that was maybe unimaginable like 6 months ago. But now I was a lot more fearless, and I just had a positive attitude and felt like I can do this. I'm going to reach out to that person and see if we can have a partnership. I'm going to reach out to this company and, put in a tender bid and see what happens. I started to see things change, and yeah, put less pressure on myself, and really everything changed. And I wanted to share that example because it was my mindset that changed. I've been working hard for years, but I could just tell the shift there where I felt like it's possible for things to change, and then they started to. So yeah, I would empower you. I would empower you to just kind of start writing down ways that you can take a shift. If you feel like you are in a rut, if you feel like you want things to change but you don't know where to start, then just start with trying to change your mindset by reading books, by listening to the right things, by having conversations with the right people as well, like the friends and family around you. Talk to the right people, because sometimes they might, drag you down in terms of what they think is possible is not what you think is possible. So just be mindful there. Yeah, so that's my little tip there when it comes to mindset shifts and how you could try and turn things around. I hope you enjoyed that episode, and I wanted just rewatching it again prompted a conversation that I had with Crystal McGivery, and we had this conversation at the end of 2024. Please look out for, so basically I'm going to put a link as well to that episode, the From Roots to Froots episode, where she pointed out that she is looking into kind of people that are neurotypical and how they manage finances and ways how she's supporting people that are from that background. And I think it's really important that when we look at finances and managing finances, it needs to be at a lens where people have different experiences, different capabilities, different journeys as well. So they might need different solutions to tackle the same problem. So yeah, that's also a great conversation that I would love to have a second part. And if you have any questions or comments, please leave them in kind of the chat below, and feel free always to email us, talk to us at rootstofruits.com. If you have any questions around these topics, they are very broad and complex topics. So it'll be great to hear from different people. And yeah, we will explore any questions that are sent in future episodes. That's it for now, and excited to see you next week. That is all for us today, guys. Join us next week for some more seeds to sow. And please remember to support us by following and leave a rating on our show on whichever platform you're listening to us from. To those watching on YouTube, please leave a like and a subscribe to our channel. All of your support goes a long way. Thank you so much for joining us today. And remember, keep shining.